dozen or more members and meet each month at one of the members' farms. It gives the member a chance to show off his place and to get others to evaluate what he's doing and how he might improve. In addition to farming, I own and operate 2 mills just down the hill, a grist mill and a lumber mill. It's not that unusual around here. Since we've converted to wheat and corn, we've found that getting our crops to market extremely difficult. Why, even Mr. Keene, just down the road, he has a mill. Heard he had a bit of trouble a while back. Something about a murder. But then again, that's another story for another day. My stone grist mill down at Hatch Lake serves both the use of my use and my neighbors. You see, it's much easier to transport flour to market or use it for local purposes than it is to transport the grain. Up until a few years ago, we had 2 means of transport in Fairfax. For our tobacco, we stuffed the tobacco into large hogsheads and rolled them down Ox Road or Rolling Road to Occoquan. For our wheat and corn in Fairfax, we had a choice of wagon or canal boat. Well, since the canal doesn't go through this part of Fairfax County, we were pretty much limited to farm wagon. Well, Virginia is famous for its dust during the dry times and mud during the wet spells. So taking a heavy wagon load of wheat to Fairfax is just about out of the question. Well, that brings me to another one of my former occupations. I was president of the Fairfax Turnpike Company. In the last few years, turnpikes were gaining more and more use in Fairfax County. To date, when roads are desired, a person must petition the county to open a road, to build a road. Once it is built, if it is, the people living along the road must help maintain it. The county even checked how well the man maintains the road. If he doesn't do a good job, they fine him. So in the end, a person living along the road pays to get the road built, has to work to maintain it, and then pays, then gets fined if he doesn't do a good enough job. So we're creating turnpikes in the county. For a number of these roads, we're laying down a macadamized surface, laying down large stones at the base and filling in towards the top with increasingly smaller stones. Roads created in this way are a great improvement over previously dirt roads or even corduroy roads. It costs a lot to maintain a road, so the county has encouraged the creation of a couple of turnpike companies, the Falls Bridge Turnpike Company, the Occoquan Turnpike Company, and the Fairfax Turnpike Company, the latter of which I am the president of. We have located toll booths at regular intervals along the road to collect tolls. Problem is, there's too many ways to get around paying the tolls. Folks actually drive their wagons around through the fields past the booths. We found that collecting tolls wasn't sufficient to pay for all of the maintenance. We've closed the books on the Fairfax Turnpike Company 2 years ago, in 1852. However, you may be familiar with these turnpikes, and I'm sure you've traveled down them many times. Little River Turnpike, Columbia Turnpike, or what some people call Columbia Pike, and Leesburg Pike. We still need a better way of getting our crops to market. I've been learning more and more about the use of railroads. Why, down at City Point at the confluence of the James and Appomattox River, they had their first railroad in 1836, which ran 9 miles from City Point to Petersburg. I believe that Fairfax County could greatly benefit from having a railroad run from here to Alexandria. The line that was originally slated to run from here to Annandale and on west, I believe would be better served if we would take a more southerly route, namely through Accotink Creek, along through Pohick Creek Valley, just north to where we're sitting. I've in fact talked to a number of my neighbors and talked to men that own land along where the rail line would run, and talked them into donating their land as well as I. I currently serve as director of the Orange and Alexandria Railroad, and it's my desire to become the O&A's president. Well, I have so many occupations that I've been involved in and giving so much time that I could tell you about each one of them, but I must stop and tell you about my latest endeavor. Just 4 months ago, I applied for, and after paying the proper taxes to the county sheriff, received a license to operate a house or home of public entertainment. You might know these more by other terms such as a tavern or ordinary. It's important to know that I intend to operate a house of public entertainment in the true sense of the law as enacted by the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Virginia in 1840. While there are other houses in the counties that may operate tippling houses where merely spirituous drinks are offered and consumed on the premises, I intend to meet the law that requires that I serve food and drink, offer reasonable accommodations and lodging, and foraging and safekeeping for the travelers' horses. My house being located on a major road and the potential trace of the Orange and Alexandria Railroad with Burke Station would provide me a great opportunity to offer lodging and a cool drink to many a passing individual. Now, just in case anyone present in this assembly would question my purpose for acquiring such a license, I must assure you that you need not lose sleep in that tonight in that regard. I do not intend to conduct my home in any other manner or any other way than an honorable Christian establishment. It might serve you well to remember that I am a vestryman at the Truro Parish located in Fairfax Courthouse. Well, in the spirit of openness and being frank, I must tell you that these licenses are received and approved by the county commissioners. Oh, I'm afraid I haven't told you that I am a county commissioner and was one at the time that I submitted my request for my license. I assure you that my presence on the board in no way influenced my receipt of said license. And oh yes, I must share with you another bit of information that I am sure you were quite well aware of, seeing that you appear to be quite wealthy gentlemen. The state legislature recently passed a law that made any furniture and other furnishings used in a home of public entertainment tax-free. I assure you that neither the provision of the tax-free status for which my belongings, which would cover my belongings, nor the fact that I was a commissioner at the time the license was approved should cloud any aspect of my life in your minds. Well, not long after moving to Fairfax, acquiring land, getting married into a local family, and building a fine home and reputation, I became a county judge. A few years later, Levi also became a judge. In Fairfax, as I mentioned, it's quite a challenge to get around the county because of the roads. So each month we have 3 days of court days. It takes on a bit of a cross between a family reunion and the 4th of July celebration. Everyone comes out for court days and they stay for the 3 days. Small town of 200 or 300 residences of Providence and Fairfax Courthouse soon grows to be so much more than that. All of the legal businesses all of the legal business gets taken care of in our fine brick courthouse building with its arched entrances. It was built in 1800 and I hope that it stays standing for years to come. Well, I've talked about being a planter farmer, an owner and operator of grist mills and lumber mills, president of the Agricultural Society, president of the Fairfax Turnpike Company, director of the Orange and Alexandria Railroad Company, and just mention briefly about my serving the county as a judge. While I don't have time to tell you more about myself, I can tell you that I have served or am now serving also as Commissioner of Public Schools and Buildings, a Lieutenant Colonel in the State Militia. Makes you wonder how I can accomplish all of this. Well, the 1840s and 1850s were a time of significant immigration and emigration in the counties I've mentioned. As I've said before, a significant number of long-term Fairfax County residents, and primarily yeoman farmers and their families, left the county and traveled west to find their fortunes either in free land or the pursuit of gold. It's been said as many as 400,000 Virginians were actually living in places other than the Commonwealth. At the same time, there are significant immigrants. Quaker farmers from Pennsylvania, New York, and particularly New Jersey moved into the county, drawn by the promise of cheap farmland. Irish immigrated to this area, leaving their home country and its potato famine behind, and drawn by the work needed to build the Orange and Alexandria Railroad and other railroads. Immigrants to this country and this county brought, amongst other things, their music. Many of the songs of the American Civil War that were heard around the campfire at night had their origins in traditional Irish jigs and reels, or the folk music of the other the other countries. So with that, I'd like to play a couple pieces on the concertina. As the Civil War soldiers were sitting around the campfire, they'd get very lonely at night, and they'd be, thinking of home and everything else. And there's a very traditional one that they would sing and play that's called "Tenting Tonight in the Old Campground," that I'll play the music for.
Let me express my deep appreciation to John Vrana for sharing the stories of Colonel Silas Burke in this episode. I was personally interested in doing this particular episode for Women's History Month because I was privileged to meet remarkable African American women who made history during my 30-year career with the U.S. State Department. In 1989, I met my civil rights hero, Rosa Parks, when I participated in the White House ceremony honoring 25 years of the historic 1964 Civil Rights Act. Later, during the 3 years before my retirement, I had the privilege of serving under the first African-American woman Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice. And so for March 2011, Women's History Month, we salute the remarkable contributions of the women in the family of Reverend Louis Henry Bailey, founding pastor of the Little Zion Baptist Church. We thank Jenny Dean, Ella Hulda Dean Bailey, and Annie Beatrice Bailey Rose for their contributions to American society during very difficult times in our history. Allow me to repeat my hope that this two-part series will encourage you to learn more about our African American history in Northern Virginia, and in particular will encourage you to support and to join the 2011 celebration of the 120 years of Little Zion Baptist Church in my Burke neighborhood. Next month, for April 2011, I plan to show a program on the naturalization ceremonies that we in the Fairfax County Asian American History Project have sponsored under the leadership of Chairman Sharon Bulova. Thank you all very much for joining us for this episode of the series Fairfax County Stories by Lady Fairfax, 2009, Filipino-American, Corazon Sandoval Foley. Thank you very much, and see you in April.